I am the result of a broken condom. Or so my mother has chosen to tell me on countless occasions, always followed up, of course, by a reassuring statement such as, "Our lives wouldn't be the same without you," or, "Your father always wanted a little girl." She used the broken condom story in just the right amount to scare the living crap out of me, and to keep me a virgin until I'd finally moved off to college. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's with good reason that she put the fear of God in me. I'm as fertile as the day is long. Just like my mother, I seem to have an eager uterus for children and the childbearing hips to match. However, it's not always as easy as it may seem to create a family. This is the story of my rocky road to motherhood. My husband and I moved to Colorado in November, and by New Year's, we thought we would be ready to start trying for a family. We certainly never expected to have it happen quickly. We'd heard horror stories of it taking months or even years to conceive. Needless to say, we were astounded when we found a positive result from our first attempt. I remember initially feeling so scared, I almost hoped it wasn't true. So I took about 5 more tests just to make sure. Calling the doctor to set up my first prenatal visit, I was surprised to hear they'd want to wait 8 whole weeks before seeing me. Week after week came and went. Our appointment was set for Valentine's Day of all days. Our plan was to go to the last appointment of the day and then out to celebrate our good news. Like any new expecting parents, we were full of excitement, anticipation, and fear. We sat through an hour-long orientation process of the do's and don'ts of pregnancy, which seemed a lot more like don'ts than do's. And then we finally got to meet with the doctor. She did an ultrasound to show us our growing little peanut. Only there was nothing there. "I'm so sorry," she said, showing us the screen. What was once there had stopped growing. I was devastated. I knew that this could happen. It happens to people every day, but surely not to us. How could our baby just disappear? I immediately felt a sense of guilt. Maybe if I had been more excited when I first learned I was pregnant, our little babe would still be there. I feel like there is so much pressure on women, and moms especially, to make everything all right, to make sure we sustain life in utero and on. It's an amazing yet heavy burden to bear. The doctor told us it would be best if we waited a month or so before trying again, just to make sure my body was ready. A few days after the appointment, I got my period, a heavy reminder that I was no longer going to have a baby as I had thought. This would go down in history as my worst Valentine's Day of all time. The months following that appointment were heavy on my heart. My dad, who'd been in the medical field over 30 years, reassured me that miscarriages are very common. In fact, his colleague's daughter had 4 of them before having her first baby. Not exactly what I wanted to hear, though I normally appreciated my dad's honesty. Fast forward to spring. There was something about the chance for a fresh start that made us ready to try again. Lo and behold, the king and queen of fertility scored a second time. Yet there was something strange this time around. On every test I took, that color line that shows the positive result was barely visible. I decided to think nothing of it and continued to take a new test every morning for the next 5 days, partly because I was so excited and partly because I could barely believe our luck. I was about 8 weeks along in pregnancy number 2 when my husband and I were on a flight back to Denver, and something felt terribly wrong. My belly looked like I was already 6 months pregnant, and I couldn't button my pants to save my life. By the time I reached our home in Boulder, I was doubled over in pain. On a side note, can someone please make DIA closer to civilization? Being my stubborn self, I assumed it was bad gas from all the food I'd gorged on the day before. Instead of rushing to call the doctor, I decided to be my own MD and look to the internet for answers. All of my symptoms were leading to what was called an ectopic pregnancy, which can be life-threatening to the mother. I went to the hospital and my fears were confirmed. The doctor told me that it was very rare for someone with no pre-existing conditions, and that it was almost like getting struck by lightning. After an overnight hospital stay and many follow-ups later, the doctor found that I must be a freak of science because my body had healed itself all on its own, and I would not need any invasive procedures. That experience was something that changed me. It was extremely hard to walk around Boulder, seeing all the cute babies and pregnant mamas. If you've ever taken the time to look, you'll notice that there is never a shortage of cute babies and gorgeous mamas in this town. It was a constant reminder that I was baby challenged. Fast forward another 4 months. My husband had the opportunity to go to Italy for work, and I had the opportunity to join him. If there's one thing that the Italians are good for, aside from their food and amazing wine, it's romance. It is in Italy where we had our third attempt of making a baby in 1 year. We got home from our trip, and I waited the expected amount of days. The test was positive. I prayed every night to stay strong and keep that little being alive. I even bought a home Doppler to listen to the baby's heartbeat. It was the only thing that got me through those 9 long months. We had done it. We had finally managed to create our little warrior. We decided not to find out the sex of the baby because at that point we could care less if it wore pink or blue. We were just so happy he or she was with us. 2 weeks before my due date, our little one decided to arrive early. It was Mother's Day, 2012. Little did I know that a day later, I would officially be a mama. I will spare you the gory details of the birth. You can thank me later. But I do have to share what this whole story was all about. That beautiful baby coming into this world is the most amazing experience I have ever had. No amount of pain, blood, lack of sleep, tears, or fear would keep me from the first time of seeing her face. We had a little girl, Zoe Arabella, meaning life and answered prayer. After 4+ hours of pushing, when she finally arrived and they placed her on my chest and she looked up at me, I was hooked. There is nothing I wouldn't do for her. There is no greater love that I have ever felt than for this child. She stole my soul the minute she looked at me and knew I was her mom. I now understand what it is to be a mother, and it is the most amazing gift I will ever hope to have. For my little Zoe, you are our gift from God. Thank you.